Hey gaming fans, so for today's Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile, I have a Simorgh deck, and this is kind of like a fun deck as well. It's like a lockdown style. You try to pretty much lock your opponent out of playing spells and traps, and kind of beat them down with really big winged beast monsters. So this is kind of like the Dark Simorgh variant. I know there's other ways you could play this deck. There's pure ways and stuff. So anyways, I'll get to the deck and explain my choices. So first we have I have one copy of the Simorgh Bird of Bringing. Now, don't get me wrong, if I had more copies of this, I would play it. I would probably suggest playing 3 of this one, but right now I only have 1 copy. So eventually I'll get 2 more, but when this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 Simorgh card from your deck to your hand, except for Simorgh Bird of Bringing. If this card is in your graveyard and your opponent controls no cards in their spell and trap zones, you can special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. So a lot of these Simorgh cards kind of have that effect. So it's a really cool card. But anyways, yeah, so I only have the 1. Then I have 3 of the Simorgh Bird of Protection. When this card is normal summoned, you could target 1 card in your opponent's spell and trap zone, return it to their hand. And then if this card's in the graveyard, same thing, you can special summon it, but then it vanishes. So, you know, really good. Kind of get rid of the back row, and just for that 1 turn anyways, bounce it back, and then you can special summon any of these guys if they're in your graveyard. And then I got 3 of the Simorgh Bird of Calamity. So when this card is normal summoned, you could send 1 Simorgh card from your deck or to your graveyard except himself, so a copy of himself. This card really, it comes in handy because the card that the Dark Simorgh can revive itself from the graveyard, so it's a good thing to actually be able to throw it in there, or if you just need materials to pull out the Dark Simorgh. And so here is the Dark Simorgh, so I got 3 of them. So this is what the whole deck is pretty much based on, is pulling this guy out. So while face up on the field, this card is also a wind attribute. Doesn't really do much for this deck. But you can banish 1 dark monster and 1 wind monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, or you can banish 1 dark monster and 1 wind monster from your hand to special summon this card from the graveyard. So it's sort of like the chaos monster effects in a sense. But what's really important about this guy is while he's on the field, your opponent cannot set any cards on the field. So that includes they cannot set traps, they cannot set spells, and they cannot set monsters. Most people don't really set monsters, maybe in a Shaddoll deck or something, but in most cases, people are just normal summon or special summon monsters. But it does lock them out of their spell and trap zone. At least the traps anyways, but we'll get to the rest of the deck anyway. So there's 2 of the Simorgh Lord of the Storm. So this is just a big beater, 2900 attack. Your opponent cannot target this tribute summoned card with spell or trap or effects. And then you get to use its effect once per turn. When a spell or trap card or effect is activated, you can tribute 1 winged beast monster and then target 1 card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. So that's pretty powerful. And when a winged beast monster you control is destroyed by battle while this card is in your graveyard, you could add this card to your hand. So, you know, it just keeps coming back. But really what you need it for is for just fodder for your Dark Simorgh. But eventually you need to beat your opponents down. So I also have 2 Simorgh of Darkness, which is sort of the same idea. Big, huge 29 beater. Well, face up on the field, this card is also wind. You can only use each of the effects once per turn. If you tribute summon a dark or a wind monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. So, you know, it's good to get this guy into the graveyard with this guy's effect, who sends it into the grave. And then if when the spell or trap or effect is activated, you contribute 1 winged beast monster at the activation to destroy the card. So a similar effect to this guy as well. Then to round this deck out, I included the Blackwings. So I got 3 of the Blackwing Gale of the Whirlwind, because you really need wind and you need dark and wing beasts, so they really work well together. So 3 of the Gale of the Whirlwind. This guy's cool. He special summons himself if there's a Blackwing on the field. And then you can cut 1 of your opponent's monsters' attacks in half. So you can pretty much run over almost anything. Then I got 3 of the Blackwing to Borrow the Spear. Same idea. If there's a Blackwing on the field, he can special summon himself. So this is really good for getting into your rank 4 plays. Or you can special summon this guy because he's also a tuner, and this guy, and now you got level 7 Synchro. So really cool. Then we got one Shora, the Blue Flame. He's just an 1800 beat stick, but if he destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon one Blackwing monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. So it's pretty much just going to be this guy. But it's pretty cool, especially if you can get this guy and this guy on the field. You reduce one of their monsters, you attack over it, then you can pull out another one. So that's a lot of damage. The Blackwings are always known for their swarming capabilities. And there's the two of the Blackwing Crack of Dawn. Chris the Crack of Dawn, I should say. If you control a Blackwing monster other than this guy, you can special summon him from your hand. So much like all the rest of them except for the Shura, he can special summon himself. You can only special summon one of him once per turn this way, and once per turn this card cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects. So pretty cool. He can kind of save himself. But yeah, that's it. So that's it for the monster lineup. So we get a lot of darks and we get a lot of wins. And so the main, like I said, the main concept of this deck is to just get your Dark Simorgh out as fast as possible, just to try and lock down your opponent. So let's get to what the spells do in this deck. So I don't play a whole lot of spells. So the first one is probably the best searcher, and that is Simorgh Onslaught. You discard one Wing Beast monster. That's why you need to have a ton of them in the deck. The whole deck is Wing Beasts. To add 2 Simorgh monsters with different attributes from your deck to your hand. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, reveal one Wing Beast monster in your hand, and if you do, reduce the levels of monsters in your hand with that name for 1 turn. By 1, I should say. So pretty much you could just reveal one of the big guys, or even your Simorgh, and then drop his level down by 1. So if you do that a few times with these cards in the graveyard, you can almost just normal summon them, or just get them on the field with 1 tribute. But most importantly, it's the search effect that you need, because then you're going to add probably him if you don't have him in your hand, or one of the other ones that you need possibly, or the wind target. So you're going to grab a dark and a wind target. Then I play 2 of the Simorgh Repulsion. So this is discard a Wing Beast monster, return all cards in your opponent's spell and trap card zones to their hand. So it's kind of like a giant Trunade that only works on their side. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard to reveal a Wing Beast monster in your hand. It's the same effect. So all these cards have that same effect where they can banish from the graveyard to reduce the level of a monster. Then I put 2 Swallow's Nest because you can pretty much search out most of these monsters with that. You know, if you've got this card on the field, you've already used its effect, you could swap it out for another level 3, which would be your Gale of the Whirlwind, or vice versa, and it just helps to get a dark and a wind in the graveyard to use for your Simorgh. Then we got 3 of the Blackwing spell, the Black Whirlwind. So this pretty much every time you normal summon a Blackwing to your side of the field, you get to add a Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand that has less attack. So it's a pretty standard card in all Blackwing decks. And to round out the spells, we play 1 Monster Reborn. Because you're throwing a lot of stuff in the graveyard, and so again you want to get this guy out as fast as possible. So that's the spells. And then for the traps. So what makes this work is the anti-spell fragrance. So while this trap is up on the field, both players must first set spell cards, and they can't activate them that turn. In other words, if I had a Monster Reborn in my hand, I can't activate it. I have to set it, and then wait till my next turn to actually activate Monster Reborn. And so when Simorgh's on the field, you're basically locking your opponent out of playing spells and traps, because they can't set the traps, they can't set the spells, so they pretty much can't play spells or traps. So, you know, it's a funky deck that can kind of stop your opponent. I know a lot of people are playing mostly monster effects now, but, you know, this is, again, just a fun deck. And then, for a little bit of protection, I put in 3 Solemn Judgments. Because, you know, you got to stop things. You got to stop monsters. I mean, this is only going to stop the spells and traps, so this will help you get rid of some of your monster effects. And if you have your big guys out, you want to protect them. So if you were able to get out your 2900 beater, you want to protect them, so Solemn Judgment. And that's pretty much the deck. You know, I worked around with the ratios of stuff. Like I said, I would have preferred to have more of that one wherever he went. But this guy, but I've only pulled one so far. If I ever get back to my local card shop, I'll probably go through their binders and boxes or whatever and find more. Anyways, so the extra deck, I just thought about, you know, what would work well. I mean, Black Rose would work, because you're going to be able to synchro level 7 really easily in this deck. This guy's pretty cool too, the Blackwing Tamer Obsidian Hawk Joe. He requires a Blackwing tuner and one or more non-tuner Blackwing monsters, which is what you do in this deck. You could target one level 5 or higher Wing Beast type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So that's pretty cool, that if you get any of these big guys in there, you can special summon them with this guy. And that just requires your level 3 tuner and your level 4 Blackwing monster just to pull this out. And then during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets only this card, or when your opponent targets this card for an attack, you can target one other Blackwing monster you control that would be an appropriate target. That card effect now targets that one. So kind of tries to protect itself. Then I just threw in one Blackwing Armor Master. I mean, this is part of the original strategy of the Blackwings. And I figure there's a lot of ways you're going to be able to pull out these guys, because you got a bunch of level 3s in your deck. So Zen Mains is just good for protection and stall. And Levier, because you will be banishing stuff, so you'll probably have a target for that. And of course, Lightning Chidori, being that you can pull rank 4 with, you do have some level 4 wind monsters in here with these guys, so it's possible you could pull it out. And then just my standard lineup of Abyss Dweller, Digusto Emerald, Silent Honor Arc, Castell, Utopia, Cowboy, and then I just threw in some Link monsters. So yeah, you could pretty much customize this to whatever you need it to be. But really the combo is pulling out Simorgh, so that's really the focus of this deck. Anyways, hope you liked the deck. Leave some comments down below. What would you change? What would you put in? Throw some ideas at me. I always love to hear it. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.